حي على الفلاح.
According to our traditions, when we are talking about Islam, we are talking about monotheism. We are actually talking about a relationship with the Creator, where the person makes their devotion directly to the Creator, without any intermediary, without using the sun, without using idols, without worshiping through people. The human being goes directly to the Great Spirit. And so within our teachings there is a verse in the Qur'an itself that we have sent to every nation a messenger, that they would worship Allah or God the Creator, and they would stay away from false deities. So based on that, coming from our traditions, we believe over 124,000 prophets and messengers came to every nation and every tribe. Prophets came to China, to Europe, to India, to Africa, here in the Americas, every nation. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ Ummah. Every nation, a messenger has been sent. And in my travels, I've asked people about monotheism and found, for instance, that on the Nile, that there's a book which is written according to a teacher named Ptahhotep, and it is considered to be one of the oldest writing forms, complete book forms that exist today. The teachings of Ptahhotep and papyrus. And in it you'll find clear trace of monotheism. Also in ancient Egypt there was a pharaoh named Akhenaten. His wife's name was Nefertiti, and they say she was the first woman to be using cosmetics and feminine hygiene products and a number of things. But you'll find in the Psalms of Akhenaten, you will find clear monotheism. And it is said that Akhenaten himself had to do battle with the other people who believed in many different gods in ancient Egypt. And so the Psalms of Akhenaten, and in the Qur'an there's a surah, Hujurat, and you know it is almost like you're reading Surah Al-Hujurat in some places. It talks about the tongues and the colors and the way that all people have been made and that there is one God. And so Akhenaten was really struggling to institute the belief in the power behind the sun, not the sun. In the Bantu religion, you will find some reference to the fact that Ntu means the cosmic spirit. And so many of the Bantu people related directly to a great spirit, a universal spirit, and they looked actually toward oneness. In Mandarin Chinese, I went to China and I was speaking to the people, and they have a term they call Shang Ti. And Shang Ti means the creator, the main God. And the way they described their concept of Shang Ti, meaning there was a main god and there's like a court. They said there's a court with other gods. It was almost the same way that the Meccans, the Quraysh, the pagan Meccans, were describing Allah at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It was just similar to that. They had one universal God, and they had Lat and Uzza and Suwa, and they had many different other gods that they were also relating to. The Cherokee Nation, recently I have come to understand that the Cherokee Nation, in this part of the world, the Iroquois as well, there is a strong tradition of monotheism in their teachings. And so what I am saying is that monotheism is not something which is particular to the Middle East. It is not something which is Semitic in our belief, but it is an understanding which relates to all peoples throughout the planet. The second point is that when we speak about Islam, and this is very important, and the people who are studying Islam today in think tanks, in universities, going to the primary sources, are recognizing when they look at history that Islam is not a religion in the Western sense of the term. In the Western sense, your religion is your dogma, who you believe as God. You might worship on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, but when Monday comes, you go back to work as an American. But when we say in Arabic, Inna Deena Indallahi al-Islam, that surely the way of life, the word deen, surely the way of life with the Creator is Islam. And so what that means is that the word deen is a way of life. So in other words, in a deen, it's not just your religious dogma. It is a belief that pervades everything that you do. So in other words, your economic life, your social life, your political life, all different aspects of your existence are affected by your deen. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, we are taught, was the last of this long series of prophets and messengers. And he said that the prophets and messengers, who included, according to our belief, Abraham and Moses and Jesus and Jacob and Noah, Joseph and all the different prophets of monotheism, he said that it is like a building, a beautiful building, and the people looked at the building and there was one place that was empty. And he said, I am that brick. I am the last part of the building, and with me is the seal or the finality of prophethood. Just before he died, or a year before he died, he made what is called the Arafat sermon. And in this sermon, he established that the people should worship nothing but the Creator, that all of their business dealings should be done in economic purity, that all interest relationships are ended. Don't take interest and usury. That's a serious statement, because if the oil sheikhs throughout the world and the people in the Muslim world took their money out of the banks and put it in a bank with no interest, you would change the economy of this planet. And so he said all economic relationships should be developed in purity. He also said, do not harm other people. Do not oppress other people so that you would not be oppressed yourself. He also confirmed for them that there is no preference of white over black or black over white. There's no preference of Arab over non-Arab or the non-Arabs over the Arab, except for taqwa. It is the piety and the right action that separates the people. He also established that men have rights over women, but women also have rights over men. He also established that if you follow two things, he said, I've left you two things. This is the Qur'an, the book of Allah, and my sunnah, my way. If you follow them, you will never go astray. And this was the essence of the message that he left with his followers. And he told the people who are present that they should take this message to the people who were absent. And they took it to different parts of the world. And we are coming to realize that many of the words that we look at in English, if you could go back before the time of Queen Victoria, then they tell you the roots of the word. And so there are many words that have Arabic roots, that have Turkish roots, Persian roots, many different languages. But you don't get the roots of these words. Even in America, there are many place names and there are many common terminologies that we are using that actually have roots that can go back directly to the Arabic language and to Islam. When the Muslims went into the east coast of Africa, they found a base of operations for the Persians, and they called it Maq'ad al-Shah, and Maq'ad al-Shah became Mogadishu. They went down to the east coast of Africa, and a colony was set up by Musa ibn Baig. Musa ibn Baig, Mozambique. They found some islands where the moon was really bright, so they called them Juzr al-Qamar. Juzr al-Qamar is now Comoros Islands. They went into the Indian Ocean, into the South China Sea, and a Harvard University team led by a man named Barry Fell, F-E-L-L, who wrote a book called Saga America, found inscriptions all throughout the southwest of the United States. They also found a map, and on this map it had Panama, it had the Hudson Bay, it was showing North America, and it also had islands and some Kufic writing, and then there were other pages of this writing. And they were describing these islands in the Pacific, and they said Juzr al-Hawa. Juzr al-Hawa, there's a lot of wind around these islands, and this Juzr al-Hawa becomes Hawaii. Also recently, another researcher also found some interesting information. He found that when they were traveling in the area of the Hawaiian Islands, they found a harbor. You know, there's pearls there. You know the Pearl Harbor in World War II, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. It's a key point in the history of World War II. And so they said, in Arabic, pearl is lu'lu. Or you can say lulu. That's another way of pronouncing Arabic. So they said, huna lu'lu. Or so they said, Honolulu becomes Honolulu. And so you have so many names that I could spend the whole evening just going through the names of cities and places. It's an amazing study.